Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum and I'm here today at the Rock Island Auction Company taking a look at a Franchi SPAS-15 police shotgun. This was developed really to be the replacement for and an improvement upon the Franchi SPAS-12 shotgun, and one of the iconic features that the SPAS-12 introduced was the ability to easily change between semi-automatic operation and pump operation or manual operation. The idea for this, and they carried it over into the SPAS-15, was that being aimed at a law enforcement market, it would, on the one hand, usually probably be used with, proper full power shotgun ammunition, buckshot and slugs. However, there is a substantial police use of less lethal and other sort of specialty ammunition, and things like less lethal beanbags or rubber slugs don't develop the sort of recoil energy or the sort of gas pressure that real slugs or buckshot do, and they don't tend to function well in semi-automatic shotguns. So by allowing the gun to be switched into a manual mode, then they could be easily used with any sort of fancy specialty ammo that might not run the action properly in semi-automatic mode. And of course, if you just need straight old good buckshot, then you switch it back to semi-auto and the gun runs properly. So that was the idea with the SPAS-12. They carried it over to the 15. Now, in addition to that, the main, from a user point of view, the main improvement to the SPAS-15 was replacing the tubular magazine with a box magazine. Now, the 2 magazine actually held more ammunition. This is a 6-round box magazine, but it's far easier to change out. And it also allows you to have magazines of different kinds of ammunition, like buckshot and slugs, independently. So the box magazine was a definite improvement from a user handling practical perspective. They also then made this a relatively economical sort of gun to manufacture with a big stamped sheet metal receiver. And it really is a quite nice combat shotgun. These went into production in 1986. And, well, I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and pull it apart. And then after that, I'll tell you what happened to it and where they are now. One of the things you notice when you pick this up is that this is a big, chunky shotgun. Kind of all of these 1990s semi-automatic box-fed shotguns are. The USAS-12, the SPAS-15, there are a couple other limited production guns like this. They're all big. Now, as for controls, we have an easily detachable, a little stiff in the magazine well though, box magazine. It, like it says there, holds 6 rounds. This thing seems a little bit goofy until you consider that they did also make a hunting purpose civilianized 2-round magazine, pinned. It was the exact same magazine body, just pinned to only hold 2 rounds. Those are marked with a green shotgun shell that says 2 max. So it's just a way to keep track of the capacity of the different magazines. So we have, I don't even need to zoom in, we got Franchi SPAS-12, a nice big lettering there. These were made with both fixed stocks like this one and also side folding stocks. Here on the left side, we have the model designation again and the manufacturer, El Franchi, Beretta, in big paint letters again, and the serial number. There are 2 safeties built into the gun. One is just a simple grip safety. The other is a manual safety here that's kind of cool in that it is easily used by a left-hander, not quite as convenient for a right-hander, unusually, but then it also has kind of interesting functionality. But in order to properly tell you about that, I need to also go over this mechanism at the front, where you can either have this as a pump action, or by pushing the button, you can slide that forward to automatic action, or back to pump or semi-auto. So when this is in, we'll leave this in pump for the moment. Interestingly, the safety on here doubles as a slide lock. Normally, on a pump-action shotgun, you'll have an extra little button. And once the thing is cocked and locked, so to speak, literally, you have to push the button to unlock the pump handle so that you can open the action. Well, the same sort of requirement applies to a gun like this. You want to be able to lock the slide forward so that you don't, under stress, unintentionally pull it slightly out of battery and then not be able to fire. So when I cock this thing, that safety is going to flip to the fire mode, because the action is now locked. So it's still in pump action mode, but I can't actually open the bolt. because that lock is engaged. Now, there isn't a little button here to unlock it. Instead, the safety does that. So if I engage the safety, now I can open it again. And if I cycle it all the way open, you see right there, the safety just disengaged itself. So once the safety's, once it's on fire position, then the only other way to unlock the slide is to actually fire the shell. That automatically unlocks it because now I would need to pump the action, like so, at which point we go back to fire mode. I can engage the safety if I want, and that will lock the trigger with the grip safety. That'll prevent the trigger from doing anything until I disengage it. Now, if you switch the gun to semi-auto, you still actually have the same functionality. So right now it's ready to fire, which tells me I can't open the action. If I want to open the action manually using the charging handle now, because the pump handle up here is locked, I have to engage the safety. Now I can open the thing if I want to, take the mag out and empty the gun, or if I want to hand load, a specialty round, I do that. And then once it goes back into battery, the safety automatically disengages again. So if it's on safe and I cycle the bolt, it goes back to fire. This is a little confusing at first, but the more I fiddle with this, the more I think it's really a pretty ingenious system. And it has some interesting side effects, like if I wanted to, say, carry the gun with a loaded magazine in a police cruiser, but no round in the chamber, I could simply put in the magazine. I could have it on safe, if, especially if department policy requires to be on safe, even though it's empty. Well, racking the slide is going to chamber around and disengage the safety as one automatic action. Anyway, enough rambling about the safety. The rear sight here is just kind of an open rear V-notch sitting up on top of the carry handle, which is actually not so much a carry handle as it is a protective guard for the reciprocating bolt handle. The front sight is just a round post, so overall these are basically rifle-style sights. And these do come with removable interchangeable chokes. Now, disassembly is going to start at the back here. We have two HK-style push pins. I'll go ahead and pull out the bottom push pin. That allows me to remove the entire trigger group, pistol grip group, fire control assembly, all of it. Things are a little bit complicated in here, but this is the hold open. So when the magazine is empty, this will lock open, both in pump mode and in semi-auto mode. We have our safety here, so you can kind of see how that works. When this is engaged, obviously you can't pull the trigger, but when the bolt comes back, it's actually going to push down on this lever and disengage the safety. So that's how that functionality works. It's just one sort of three-pronged lever in there. The hammer is this guy right in the middle. Okay, let that up. So there's the hammer. Now we can continue disassembly by pulling out the other rear push pin. Again, rather HK inspired, this allows us to take out the buttstock and springs and actually the entire bolt group. So I have to pull this back to this point. There is a hole in the receiver and the carry handle here to allow me to pull out the bolt handle. And then I can remove the whole bolt and carrier assembly out the back of the receiver. We have a 3-lug rotating bolt here. It is spring-loaded, so it always pops back forward, which is nice because it has to be forward to be reassembled. But then the bolt itself is captive on these two guide rods with its 2 recoil springs. So this is a short-stroke gas piston operated gun, so now we can take apart the front end and see the gas system. To do this, we are going to start by unscrewing this. This is a plug at the front of the gas block, so you can also just clean the gas block by pulling this out. Then I'm going to pull the pump handle back slightly, and I can actually just pop the front sight right off of the front of the receiver. It's got this locating pin to keep it in place. Then, flipping it over, we have the lever that actually determines whether or not the gas system is engaged. So inside this bulge in the handle is a cam track. You actually can't really see it here, but it's going to cause, you can just see that starting to rotate. It's going to cause this plug to rotate. So if I rotate it the other way, I can pull it out of the receiver, and it's simply a little plug like that. So when it's in one position, gas can flow through this vent and operate the gun, and when it's in the other position, the gas block is cut off. So that's pump, that's semi-auto mode. With that out, I can now pull the pump assembly, pump handle off. Use the button here. Now you can see that little cam track. This lug on the outside runs in that little track. So when you push this forward or backward into pump or automatic mode, that's what it's actually doing. Now, we're getting close here. Now we can take this shield off the barrel. So that comes off. And that is just a plain hollow sheet metal cover. Now we have our gas piston. This is the piston. It's an annular piston. So this whole thing is the gas block. Gas pushes up inside here and hits the front face of this gas piston, which pushes this back, which pushes this back. And you can see those rods running inside the receiver. Those two rods run in these two holes. So there are 4 guide rods. There are 2 guide rods from the gas piston that are going to come back, hit this, and stop. And that's what will push the bolt back every time you fire. And then there are 2 more guide rods that the thing's running on that have the recoil springs. And these, by the way, are dual recoil springs. So there's a small diameter inside there and then a larger diameter one on top. So just for the record, the reason that there's an extra set of guide rods here is to reset the gas piston. So when this fires, normally this would all be up forward with the gas block, but I have the back end of the gun disassembled a bit, so just bear with me here. The gas piston is in contact with this. When you fire, gas fills up the gas block. This all comes back like so. You can see it working against the springs there. Then, after it's cycled all the way back and it's coming forward, the carry handle pin is actually locking these 2 guide rods, which are these 2 guide rods, into the bolt carrier. So when the bolt carrier comes forward, those 2 rods come forward. They are going to push the gas piston with them all the way back into battery so that it's ready for the next shot. All right, and there is the whole thing nicely disassembled. Really a pretty slick system and really quite economical to manufacture. So the whole receiver assembly is made out of a very basic stamped and welded sheet metal. You have a polymer fire control group, polymer buttstock, polymer pump handle. The action cover goes over the front of the barrel is another piece of very simple sheet metal. This would have been a much more cost-effective firearm to manufacture than the SPAS-12. One last thing I want to mention, if you have one of these and you want to shoot it, make sure that the buffer you have in the back is in good shape. Like the SPAS-12, these came with some sort of rubberized buffer, but the material is such that, like the SPAS-12, they harden up and shatter, and this one had just a few little bits of the buffer left inside there. So that is an important element for cushioning the stop of the end of travel of the bolt in semi-auto mode. Get a replacement buffer before you shoot one of these, or else you are liable to damage the gun over time. So these initially went into production in 1986. They came out of production in 2005. So in 86, it was legal to import these into the United States, and it remained legal to do so until 1994 when the assault weapons ban passed. That prohibited from manufacture or import, when it came to shotguns, semi-automatic shotguns that had a detachable magazine, two of the three, of a detachable mag, a pistol grip, and a folding stock. So this has a pistol grip, this has a box magazine. Neither of those can be easily changed. You can't, this pistol grip assembly houses all of the functional parts of the fire control group. You can't change this very easily into a traditionally stocked gun. For whatever reason, they decided that there wasn't enough market to justify trying to bring it in with a thumbhole stock of some sort. So only about, best number I can find, 180 of these were imported into the US before the assault weapons ban passed. Of course, that ban expired in 2004, right about the time that this actually went out of production. And my understanding is it went out of production because Franchi is currently wholly owned by Beretta. In fact, Benelli is also wholly owned by Beretta. And Beretta has gone through and done a little bit of sort of reorganizing of the companies, and they want to have Beretta do military and security law enforcement type sales, where Franchi is, they want to have Franchi doing more sporting shotguns. So Beretta had its own police law enforcement type shotgun, semi-auto shotgun that was a competitor to the Franchi. So they discontinued the Franchi to focus on Beretta for that market. So 2005, these go out of production. They're still reasonably popular. They are used by a number of law enforcement and security agencies around the world. And hey, especially here in the US, where they're pretty darn rare, they're coveted and very cool shotguns to have. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you'd like to follow the Rock Island Auction Company more, you can check out in the description text below their YouTube channel and their Instagram feed. Keep up with everything that they are doing. Thanks for watching.